Hey, good afternoon to you. 407 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up on the program, Congressman Andy Biggs is here at 5 o'clock. He was with President Trump earlier today. He's in that courtroom. We'll get his perspective. And then he's set to vote tonight on contempt proceedings for Attorney General Merrick Garland. And then Todd Bensman joins us at 5:30. We'll get the latest from him on a couple of illegal immigrants attempting to break their way into Quantico Marine Corps base. Todd Bensman's been covering that story. Also, he testified before Congress today on the issue of Chinese nationals pouring across our border as well. A lot to get to with him. And you can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. A lot of attention being paid right now to a kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs, but it doesn't have anything to do with his on-the-field performance. Instead, it's about his Catholic views expressed this week at a commencement address at Benedictine College. And rather than let his views be mischaracterized, I'm just going to play them for you first, and then we'll get to our guest. Take a listen.
Bad policies and poor leadership have negatively impacted major life issues. Things like abortion, IVF, surrogacy, euthanasia, as well as a growing support for degenerate cultural values in media all stem from the pervasiveness of disorder. Our own nation is led by a man who publicly and proudly proclaims his Catholic faith, but at the same time is delusional enough to make the sign of the cross during a pro-abortion rally. He has been so vocal in his support for the murder of innocent babies that I'm sure to many people it appears that you can be both Catholic and pro-choice. He is not alone. From the man behind the COVID lockdowns to the people pushing dangerous gender ideologies onto the youth of America, they all have a glaring thing in common. They are Catholic. This is an important reminder that being Catholic alone doesn't cut it. These are the sorts of things we are told in polite society to not bring up. You know, the difficult and unpleasant things. But if we are going to be men and women for this time in history, we need to stop pretending that the Church of Nice is a winning proposition.
Now, he goes on. He talks about some advice for the women who are graduating, experiencing their commencement there.
For the ladies present today, congratulations on an amazing accomplishment. You should be proud of all that you have achieved to this point in your young lives. I want to speak directly to you briefly because I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. How many of you are sitting here now about to cross this stage and are thinking about all the promotions and titles you are going to get in your career? Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world. I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother. I'm on this stage today and able to be the man I am because I have a wife who leans into her vocation. I'm beyond blessed with the many talents God has given me, but it cannot be overstated that all of my success is made possible because a girl I met in band class back in middle school would convert to the faith, become my wife, and embrace one of the most important titles of all, homemaker.
A touching message, celebrating women and telling them, don't allow anyone to demonize your choices. That is not the way the media is representing that story today. More on this now with our guest. Bobby Burack is a columnist over at OUTKICK, and he joins us. Sir, what do you make of Harrison Butker's remarks and the way they're being received today?
Vince, I appreciate you having me. So I want to start with a question because I've been asking non-hardcore football fans this. So I'm going to start asking you, have you heard about the name Rashee Rice in the news?
Yes, I have.
So compare what happened to Butker and Rashee Rice is his teammate. Harrison Butker made those comments. He was spreading a Catholic worldview. But Rashee Rice, with whom he shares a locker room, he was caught playing Fast and Furious on the highway a few weeks ago, crashing into a car with a mother and her young child. He then fled the scene. He's facing 8 felony charges. A report came out last week that in college, he allegedly, and all the teams are aware, he shot up a empty car because he thought the guy who owned the car flirted with his girlfriend. And a week and a half ago, a police report was filed accusing him of punching a photographer. Yet nobody is really condemning Rice. The NFL didn't release a statement denouncing Rice's behavior. There's no petition calling on the Chiefs to release Rashee Rice. Now, juxtapose that to Harrison Butker, who's facing all of that backlash. The NFL put out a statement saying his views do not represent the league. We as a society, and this is indicative of something much larger than Butker and Rice, we treat supposed thought crimes more seriously than violent crimes.
There's more scandal around Harrison Butker encouraging people to be good Christians and to look after their families than there is around the fact that any number of NFL players have been implicated in domestic abuse, in choking, strangling, killing women. And the attention is, it's so crazy how they're scandalizing decency.
Of course, and his comment was so benign. By the way, he didn't shame women that choose to work as opposed to raising a family, as the Rolling Stone claimed today. He didn't say that women are wasting their lives if they don't have kids, as MSNBC said. He pretty much said, hey, you're demonized if you do choose motherhood.
Yes.
And you shouldn't be demonized. He said that is the greatest gift of all. And for the people that are making this about sexism and gender roles, here's what's really important to remember. There's one thing men cannot do, and that is birth a child. So it is incumbent upon women to take on that role because men can't replicate it. I know a lot of women who don't have kids who chose work, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I also know a lot of them who chose motherhood, and either they don't work or the career is secondary. And though it might be a small sample size, I think we can all guess what group is happier.
Yeah. Also, yeah, you kind of think about, like, in the big picture, like on my deathbed, am I going to be talking about the segment, like this segment that you and I are having right now? Or am I going to be talking about my family, my wife, my kid, hopefully my grandchildren? Yeah. Those are the kinds of things I would hope would preoccupy my thoughts in my final moments. But, you know, that would take perspective, wouldn't it? I'm going to play some audio for you from The View today. This is Sarah Haynes. She's one of the hostesses on The View. And she said that Harrison Butker is an extremist for these remarks and the way he conducts his life.
In the spirit of freedom of speech, I don't want people shut down or fired for things they're willing to say. Yeah. I will break with you on the comparison to Colin Kaepernick for this reason. Colin Kaepernick was standing up for the rights of many and saying in a social justice moment, this is a reminder that we're not there yet. What this man is doing is not just a devout Catholic. This is someone who's practicing something called the traditional Latin Mass, which is divergent from the majority of Catholics. It's compared to being cult-like and extremist like some religions in the Middle East and Asia. So this is a very extreme...
He's Al-Qaeda. You see what's happening.
...religion, and what bothers me about that as a Christian is that when people abuse Christianity, they often not only cherry pick from the Bible, they misinterpret and lie by omission.
So she's condemning him, Bobby Burack, for not only being a churchgoer, but by going to the traditional Latin Mass. If you go to Mass in Latin, obviously you are building bombs inside of your garage. You're a real threat to our public.
Yeah, it's so good. And the Babylon Bee can't even outdo the real thing. But I find the comparison to Colin Kaepernick so disingenuous, or maybe just misinformed. So first of all, Harrison Butker is making these statements at a Catholic college. He's not representing the NFL. Colin Kaepernick protested on the NFL field in front of millions of people. Vince is, as you sure you know, there's much difference if you're a cashier and you start shouting political messages at the register than if you're a cashier who says something at a church setting. So the comparison is completely bogus, and I'm sure the View knows that, but they just don't want to admit it. In Colin Kaepernick's message, by the way, he didn't even interpret right. It wasn't necessarily that we're not where we should be as a country. He was calling the American police system racist. that's not a message that is welcoming to all. That's a pretty divisive note to send out to millions of people that the police who protect them want to shoot them because they're black. So almost everything she said in that rant was inaccurate.
Sure, and Colin Kaepernick's demonstration was in opposition to the American flag. He straight up said that he's not going to stand for a country that oppresses black people. Those were his words, and they were predicated on a lot of lies that were being told at the time, especially around the idea that there was a genocide of black people going on in the streets at the hands of police officers, which even Washington Post crime data demonstrated to be completely false, although you would never hear that from the Washington Post, that characterization. But as you looked, it turned out that there were only something like 12 to 20 unarmed black people killed in any given year by police officers. But that was not that none of that data ever really made its way to the mainstream discourse, and Colin Kaepernick was lionized for his behavior, even though he wasn't actually advancing a real cause. Meanwhile, Butker he's standing up for decency and telling people you shouldn't allow the prevailing culture to demonize your life choices if they involve getting married and having children.
Of course. And here's what I fear. Because of the backlash and because the message and interpretation of this is so one-sided against Harrison Butker, Vince, I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs cut him to make a statement. When you have people calling you a sexist and transphobic, I even saw the Rolling Stones say that Harrison Butker's speech was anti-Semitic, which it wasn't. I think this could severely hurt Harrison Butker.
Well, this is religious bigotry on its face. What they're doing is anti-Christian bigotry. And it's gone so far as the city of Kansas City, again, where the Chiefs play, they, on their Twitter account yesterday, they doxed Harrison Butker. They put a post up and said, just a reminder, Harrison Butker lives in, and then they named the specific town that he lives in on their Twitter account. Now, they later took that down, and today the mayor of Kansas City is insisting that it was a mistake, that should have never been posted. We apologize for our previous tweet. It was shared in error, says the official Kansas City Twitter account. But this is completely out of control. This is anti-religious bigotry, this time using taxpayer resources to do it.
Yeah, I don't believe that because remember, and I'm sure you do, that happened to Tucker Carlson on several occasions. Outlets would link to his address or his home, then they would correct it and say, oh, we didn't actually mean to put Tucker's address into his stories. It just so happens that these stalk criminals, if you will, always have their addresses doxed by the corporate media. Then they decide, oh, well, we didn't mean to do it.
Yeah, it's become far too...
After everybody's already shared the address.
Exactly right. Far too routine to be considered an accident. Even today, I mean, they say they took it down. I'm seeing it screenshotted all over the place. They're like, oh, no, here it is. We have it still. So, once it's out there, it's forever. Just a reminder for young people who are on the internet, it's forever once you post it. Okay, Bobby Burack over at OUTKICK doing excellent work as always. Thank you, sir. Really appreciate your time today.
Appreciate it, Vince. Stay in touch.
Unbelievable story. Look, I mean, first of all, lift up a prayer for anybody who's going to just say something true in public. All right, President Trump, just moments ago, stepping up to the microphones yet again outside of that courthouse. I'm going to take you to the audio now, and I think we'll have to carry you through the news. Don't worry, I'll give you every last amazing moment of it. Here he is, President Trump, speaking again, starting just moments ago.
Well, thank you very much. I think it was a very interesting day. It was a fascinating day. And it shows what a scam this whole thing is. And I think that seems to be the way almost everybody, even CNN and MSDNC, they have quotes over here that are drop the trial. Elie Honig, this is a statement you just made, would not have even charged this case. This case shouldn't have been charged, meaning it should have never been started against me. Nicholas Chambers, lawyer, Newsmax, there's no law against securing a non-disclosure agreement. There's none. Everybody has them. Every company has them. Out of concern for your marriage or protecting your family or any other reason, they're common. Non-disclosure, NDAs. The Manhattan show trial against President Trump is a gross abuse of power. It's a disgusting spectacle, he says, and it should terrify all of us, and that's true. Jonathan Turley, Fox News: judge has failed to protect rights of defendant in requiring clarity. Trump did not violate federal election law at all. I didn't violate any law. It's a scam. Bragg cannot prosecute federal election law. It's not under his jurisdiction. DOJ declined to bring the action. As you know, DOJ looked at this a long time ago. This case, it was going to be brought, which it should have never been brought, should have been brought 7 or 8 years ago. They didn't do that because they wanted to bring it right in the middle of the election, and especially since we're leading in every poll. It's a weird situation where judges allow prosecutors to refer to election violations. And as you know, the federal elections looked at it, and they didn't bring anything, and it's under their jurisdiction. That was from Jonathan Turley. Andrew McCarthy: NDAs are legal in common, yet Bragg alleges Trump's was illegal. I have the only illegal NDA. It seems that Trump's crime by blue state lights was winning the election. That was my crime. I won an election that I wasn't supposed to win against Hillary Clinton. And that's not a crime. Even a Republican in New York, it's not a crime. Bragg wants to prosecute Trump for federal campaign finance crimes, something he has no jurisdiction to do. This is from Andrew McCarthy, highly respected. He's got no jurisdiction to do, and that the feds, who do have jurisdiction, decided not to do it, not to charge. They decided not to do it. They looked at this, they decided not to do it. This was Bragg, who, by the way, didn't want to do it himself. And then when I started running, when I announced that I was running, all of a sudden it became a hot item again. This is a political persecution.
All right, President Trump sounding a little bit uplifted by Michael Cohen's awful testimony today. Excited as he stepped up to the microphones, saying it was a great day in court. I've got more for you in just a moment of his remarks happening as we speak. I will share those with you. We'll continue ahead on WMAL. Hey, good afternoon to you. It's 4:36 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we are making sense of the news. Coming up on the program, Congressman Andy Biggs will be with us. We'll get his perspective, having visited that courthouse today in New York City alongside President Trump. And then we've got Todd Bensman joining us at 5:30. He just testified before Congress and was attacked by Democrats. Obviously, because he doesn't want to see Chinese nationals pouring into the country illegally. So, obviously, they're not on his side of this question. They're attacking him. So, we'll get the update from him coming up at 5:30. You can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. President Trump speaking outside of that courthouse this afternoon, as we were seeing some reports today that the judge is expecting that the trial could continue beyond Memorial Day. Not clear at this point. You never quite know when it's going to all be over. We're awaiting how many defense witnesses there might be and how long their questioning might take. But there's still more ahead. So right now, the conversation today in that courtroom was it sounds like they're going to continue this trial perhaps through Memorial Day. Here's President Trump. I told you we were playing some of the audio before the news break, and here's the rest of his remarks today just outside of that courtroom. Take a listen.
Human Events editorial board, this case is a joke. Ashton Kutcher is going to pop and left to tell us that we've been punked. I think I know what that means.
That's an old reference. Yeah, punked. Ashton Kutcher's going to jump out at any moment and tell everybody that he's being punked.
A series of glorified legal pranks has seriously called into question the impartiality of the American justice system. Justice is blind, yet, unlike this case, justice is not dumb. Would appreciate it if they do the right thing. We would very much appreciate it if they do the right thing. Sean Hannity, Fox News. How did they come to this legal theory? Shows there's a problem with our legal system. We're supposed to believe in equal justice under the law, and this is not happening in America. Michael Goodwin of the New York Post, highly respected media obsession about the partisan show trial of defendant Donald Trump is obscuring a far more significant truth about him. Candidate Trump has opened up his biggest lead in the presidential campaign. Polls of battleground states, along with such evidence and such other evidence as the enormous turnout of over 100,000 people in New Jersey rally this last weekend, and dispirited concessions by Joe Biden supporters signal that we've reached a turning point in the battle for the White House. It's all a big disgrace. It's all political. Jason Cohen, the Daily Caller, respected voters told MSNBC the cases have increased their support for Trump. They went out to the voters and they said, we like Trump a lot better now because they see what's happening with this horrible witch hunt. It said, I've talked to many people who formerly identified as a Democrat. A certain voter, I won't use the name, but said they have changed their political persuasion to independent and are now looking forward to voting, very forward to voting for Donald Trump. These are people that were Democrats and they're looking to vote for Donald Trump. Trump support with black men has surged in all 7 battleground states by large numbers. CNN Chief National Affairs Correspondent Jeff Zeleny said Monday that swing state voters tell him they're disgusted and tired of what's going on here with the Trump trial. Charles Compton, New York Post, had this case gone to an elected New York State Supreme Court judge, elected is the word, chances are he or she would have dismissed such a baseless political persecution or prosecution against Trump. However, acting Supreme Court justices like Juan Merchan are political appointees subject to political manipulation. That's true. While Trump is charged with fraud, it's Bragg and his political handlers who are the ones that are committing it. Andrew and Katie Cherkowski, these are high-level lawyers, very prominent. New York case against Donald Trump is drawing to a close, but one critical aspect seems to be missing. Where's the crime? These are 2 very powerful, very good lawyers, highly respected. Mike Davis, highly respected. This is blatant lawfare and election interference by the radical Democrats, including President Biden himself. Oh, Biden is charged, and the one circling that beautiful resolute desk in the Oval Office. Democrats do not have a case against President Trump. This is a witch hunt. This is a prosecution without a case. This is all political. This is done to damage a political opponent like a third world country would do. Jeremy Hunt, Fox News. This is about one man, Alvin Bragg, who puts his political ambition over the rule of law and the judicial system. And New York has got to do something about what's happening, because you look at Judge Engoron, you look at Judge Kaplan, what they've done, it's disgraceful. Everyone's laughing at the New York system, and companies are leaving, people are leaving, but major companies with tremendous taxpayer dollars and employers of millions of people, literally, people are leaving. They're taking their companies, they're all watching this case, and they're watching Engoron too, and they're watching Kaplan. Tom Fitton, the Biden Democratic Party sham, and the sham trial and other abuses.
Have you noticed these are all of our guests that he's talking about?
Of Trump are an international scandal that harms America, and it really does. It really harms America. It's from Tom Fitton. Our country's reputation is a shining city on the hill. It's tarnished now by political persecution of Trump. Now the whole world sees our system as no better than theirs. We're a banana republic. It's very sad. Then we have story after story about how this trial is one that should have, as they say, never been charged. It should have never been brought. And again, if it was going to be brought, it should have been brought years ago.
Years ago.
You know, they're trying to rush to get it done before the election so that they can harm me, so they can hurt their political opponent. They're rushing. All this rush. There's no rush. These trials take forever. But this one, they're rushing it. We're here early in the morning and we leave in the evening.
And it's
now
cold.
the judge wants to extend the time periods so that we can get this thing done fast before the election. It's terrible. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. That includes the other cases, too, including the civil cases. And they all come out indirectly or directly. They come out of the White House and the DOJ. I want to say just one thing. I've seen some very bad news come out on inflation, on the economy, on the EV mandate, electric vehicle mandate, how crazy it is. It's going to destroy our country. It's so crazy. But I saw something today that's maybe worse than anything. President Xi of China, I know him well, and President Putin of Russia, I know him well. They're right now together working on plans where they combine, where they get together and do damage, because that's ultimately what they're thinking about, doing damage. And you take a look at what President Xi said today. He fully expects to take Taiwan. He made that statement today. That's a big statement. And I'm sitting here in an icebox. I'm sitting here listening to a case that even people from CNN and MSDNC say should never have been brought. I've been sitting here for almost 4 weeks.
This is a good point.
And we still have a long way to go. And I just want to thank all the lawyers involved because they've been really working hard. And I'm spending a lot of time and I'm spending a lot of money, which is what they want. They want me to spend my time and my money. And I'm willing to do it.
The process is the punishment.
We have to fight for the Constitution. Thank you very much, everybody.
Are you ready to testify? Do you want Mr. Smith to testify?
Are you going to debate? Are you worried about being convicted?
A bunch of useless questions, once again, out of the people who are standing there. Again, not really going to get a response anyway because President Trump just walks away each time during these events. So a couple things there. You know, it is important. He raises the news today that NBC News reporting Putin and Xi agree to deepen partnership as Russia advances in Ukraine. A number of news outlets reporting on how these two are being driven together. You can thank Joe Biden for that. Yet this is yet another reason he should not be in office. Joe Biden needs to go. He's bringing adversaries together, realigning the world against the United States. Just not a good thing at all. As President Trump points out, he's been locked up in this courtroom for weeks upon weeks upon weeks on end. Now, if you really did care about the future of the country, and you saw the writing on the wall here, which is that Trump is the most likely person to be the next president of the United States, the last thing you'd want to do is drag all of his time down in frivolous nonsense. If he's going to be handed the portfolio of the United States of America, and by extension, leader of the free world, yet again, coming up in January of next year, you'd want him singularly focused on that task, not on defending himself in some ridiculous courtroom in New York. But they don't care about that, the people who are trying to take him out. That's not what they care about. They care about power, and they care about every possible spasm they can use to try and hold on to it, including using the criminal justice system in this deeply corrupt way. Now, you heard President Trump refer to the support he's getting, just by way of analysis, at places like CNN. CNN's Elie Honig, who, I guess I'll offer some credit to him. Throughout this proceeding, all the clips I've been hearing of Elie Honig from CNN have been mostly kind of open-eyed, that this is not a good idea. Michael Cohen's a terrible witness. This is not going to go well for the prosecution. I don't think he's going so far as saying this is a hatchet job engineered by the Biden administration, but he is assessing the merits of the case to the extent that you can do that. And here he is today talking about Michael Cohen's testimony and what a disaster it's been.
I don't think I've ever seen a star cooperating
One
witness.
more time from the top. I had it down.
I don't think I've ever seen a star cooperating witness get his knees chopped out quite as clearly and dramatically as what just happened with Michael Cohen. I've certainly seen very effective cross-examinations of cooperating witnesses. I've seen aspects of their story cut into and called into question, but this goes to the heart of the allegation here, that phone call on October 24th, and it looks to the jury and to Anderson Cooper and Kara Scannell and Judge George Grasso, who are all in the courthouse, that was a devastating moment.
Yeah, and the moment he's referring to is that Cohen has been claiming that a 90-second phone call was when he had discussed really important details in a hush money scheme. And when, in fact, the defense today made it pretty clear that he was being harassed by a 14-year-old prank caller and was calling one of President Trump's aides for advice on how to deal with a 14-year-old. It was a 90-second phone call. And the press and the defense kept asking, wait a second, so you're saying you discussed the hush money scheme and the 14-year-old caller at the same time? All in 90 seconds? You did all of that? Well, maybe we talked about both. It looked ridiculous in front of the jury today because it was ridiculous to the point that all of CNN's legal analysts are saying, this isn't good for Alvin Bragg. Now, you also heard President Trump refer to voters who have been a part of focus groups who have been talking about how this is all just helping Trump. In fact, this week on MSNBC's Morning Joe, I love how Morning Joe keeps on having focus groups on the air. And they keep talking about how much they like Trump, and it infuriates the hosts of the MSNBC Morning Show. Another example of that this week of 3 Trump voters in a focus group.
Are they being impacted by this trial? Are they paying close attention? And what impact might a guilty verdict have on their decision to support the former president? Here's what they told me. Take a look.
Do each of you support Donald Trump?
I do.
Yes. Yes for all 3 of you? Yes. Has this trial changed your opinion, even caused you to waver or question that at all?
No, it's actually caused me to support him more. I just don't believe there's a coincidence that we have a trial happening in Atlanta. We have one happening in New York. So the question people are beginning to ask themselves, like I did, is like, why now?
It's pretty much everybody says they're picking on him. You know, people are tired of going after him, and you see it in so many areas. It's really not a big issue in the party. Actually, they're really making everybody mad, and they look at a big bully, and the government is the bully.
This is going to be your first time casting a ballot. What is it for you?
But he still hasn't given up. He keeps fighting to do what's right.
I've talked to many people who formerly identified as a Democrat. They have changed their political persuasion to independent, and they are looking forward to voting for Trump. Wow. Because now they find something in common with a political candidate at that level.
When you say they find commonality, what is that commonality?
They have felt persecuted by the system of American injustice. And it's not a stretch for them to think that Trump may be a victim as well. People see that there's some kind of commonality between himself and maybe all the black men that have been incarcerated and the families that have been impacted by black male incarceration here.
That woman, a black woman, right? I'm playing the audio here. Corey's confirming for me. Was the whole panel black? Was everybody black who was in the panel? Two of the members. Okay. But MSNBC trying to assess, why are you voting for Trump? What could possibly make you do that? And you hear from all of them saying he's being bullied by the federal government. And we don't want the government bullying us either. This is all blowing up in the left's face. And it's even being shown on Morning Joe, of all places. A number of congressmen showing up today to support President Trump. Here's Matt Gaetz.
This is a made-up crime. No other American in the country would be charged with this type of crime. It's like the Mr. Potato Head doll of crimes, where they had to stick together a bunch of things that did not belong together.
Congressman Andy Biggs was there, too.
I think that it's pretty clear to us that this is a sham trial. It's being done for political purposes, and that just should not stand in the United States of America.
We'll ask him to expand on those thoughts when he joins us coming up next, also ahead of his vote tonight on contempt proceedings for the Attorney General of the United States. Stay with us. A big show ahead here on WMAL.